because this is going out to you who are watching this. Hey buddy, welcome to Paranormal Spirits, where we share a drink, we tell you a spooky story, and then we rip it apart, because booze always shows the truth. For today's story, if you're old enough to know what this sound is, then you're going to understand it a little bit more. But for our younger audience, just hang on. It's still a good story. So if you were hanging out on your computer in the early 90s, going in chat rooms, doing all that, you know that there were all sorts of weird emails that you would get, chain emails, right? Well, there was a chain email that went around that said the following. State police warning for online. It's like Please read this very carefully, then send it out to all the people online that you know. If a person with the screen name of Slavemaster contacts you, do not reply. Do not talk to this person. Don't answer any of his or her instant messages or emails. Whoever this person may be, he, she is a subject for murder and the death of 56 women so far, contacted through the internet. Please send this to all women on your buddy list and ask them to pass this on as well. The screen name was seen on Yahoo, AOL, AIM, and Excite. I don't even know what Excite is. This is not a joke. Please send this to men too, just in case. So equal opportunity email. Send to everyone you know. Ladies, this is serious. Most of the time you got that and you went, bleeded, delete. This is crap. Turns out that is a real guy. So let me tell you the story of the Slavemaster. Hold on, let me do this really quickly. John Edwards Robinson was born in 1943 to an alcoholic dad and a pretty disciplinarian mom. To a disciplinarian mom. He had a fairly normal childhood, except he kind of got kicked out of stuff a lot and joined the Boy Scouts and kind of got kicked out. Then he went to school for kids who thought they were going to be priests and also left because disciplinary problems. He then grew up, went to college to be an x-ray tech. Guess what? Dropped out of that.
Sensing a pattern.
Yeah, for sure. In 1964, he moved to Kansas City where he got married, had a couple of kids. So in 1969, he got arrested for the first time. He got put on probation. He was embezzlementing stuff. He proceeded to violate terms of his probation and continue to break the law and commit fraud and embezzlement for years. In 1975, after having his probation extended a million times, he had it extended one more time for committing more fraud. It was during that time that he started to create his perfect persona. He became a Boy Scout guy. He was a baseball coach, and he even was a Sunday school teacher.
So basically all the things he dropped out of, he now became an expert in.
Finally, in 1979, after committing more acts of embezzlement and fraud, he finally got put in jail for 60 days. So once he got out of jail, he started to proposition his neighbors in a dirty way. Then got into a fight with one of the husbands because, you tried to sleep with their wife. They're going to punch you in the teeth. He also joined a secret sadomasochism cult called the International Council of Masters and became its Slavemaster, whose duties included luring victims to gatherings to be tortured and raped by cult members.
Oh, sounds like a fun day.
In 1984, he started 2 fraudulent companies, which he had already done before, and hired a 19-year-old Paula Godfrey to come and work for him. She told her friends he was going to send her away for training, and then she was never heard from again. So her family got nervous and tried to file a missing persons report. The police questioned him, and he obviously denied everything. And then a few days later, the family received a letter. It was a typed letter with her signature on the bottom that basically said she was thankful for all of his help. She was fine, and she didn't want to see her family. And that was the last time anyone ever heard from her or saw her.
It's a very formal letter to your family. And I took the time and effort to type and print. And back then, that damn letter took 10 minutes to print out.
This episode is called Sounds of the Early 90s Computer. So in 1985, he decided he was going to use a different name. He went by the name John Osborne because why not? Then he met Lisa Stacy and her 4-month-old daughter, Tiffany. And not too long after that, he called his brother and sister-in-law, who had previously tried to adopt a baby and couldn't do it through the normal channels for whatever reason. And he told them that he knew of a baby that was recently orphaned and essentially sold them a baby for $5,500.
That's it? I think he could have gotten more for a baby.
After the baby was gone, Lisa Stacy was never heard from again as well. Gone. Just gone. In 1987, another woman whose name was Catherine Clampett, good old Kathy Clampett, left her kid with her parents in Texas to go find work. So this D-bag hired her, and she vanished by June of that same year. Her missing persons case is still open. Then this guy goes back to jail for a couple of years for, guess what?
Fraud and embezzlement?
And parole violations. So there, in prison, he meets 49-year-old Beverly Bonner.
How was he was Beverly a man?
Beverly was the librarian at the prison. And shortly after his release, Beverly divorced her husband and moved in with good old whatever he calls himself now.
I mean, that's where you're like, Beverly, we need to talk. This is not a great idea.
Pick up men at work. We don't shit where we eat, especially if where we're eating is prison. She left her husband, moved with him, arranged for her alimony checks to get forwarded to his P.O. box, and after that, she disappeared. Her mom continued to forward the alimony checks for years while he was cashed.
Didn't the ex-husband notice the checks were getting cashed?
And now he discovers the internet, and he starts trolling chat rooms for people. And he's trolling BDSM and all that sort of chat rooms, because if anyone remembers chat rooms, they were disgusting. His username is Slavemaster. So he's looking for submissive women, essentially, who are into being subs, which is totally cool. Just be safe. He's out there on the internet, tippy-tapping away on his keyboard, and he finds Sheila Faith, who's 45, who has a 15-year-old daughter, Debbie, who has spina bifida and is wheelchair-bound. He convinced Sheila that he was wealthy and could take care of her and Debbie and pay all of her therapy and medical bills, had them move in with him. They immediately disappeared. So he was cashing her pension checks for years after that.
Oh my gosh.
He started to become known in these chat rooms. So people started to recognize his little screen name. He was very popular in the chat rooms. In 1999, he offered Isabella Lewicka, a 21-year-old Polish immigrant, a job and a bondage relationship. He had her sign a contract and do the whole thing. He paid for a marriage license that he never picked up. She told her family that she got married, didn't tell them to who. The marriage was never legal because he was already married. She signed a 115-item slave contract.
I don't even remember all of that.
What's rule number 63? Oh, don't pee on the carpet. Damn it! Peed on the carpet. But the contract essentially gave him control over every aspect of her life, including her bank accounts. During the summer of 99, she disappeared. He told the web designer that he was employing for no reason because his company was fake, that he got caught smoking weed and was deported.
Right.
So around that same time, he convinces a nurse by day, submissive by night, to move from Michigan to Kansas so they can travel the world together. He was like sending letters to her family from abroad, but they were all postmarked from KC, and nobody ever did anything. This is weird. I didn't know there was a Kansas City in France. Lake Kansas City. He told her mom that she had run off with an acquaintance, and that was the end of that chapter. Over time, he became increasingly careless. The authorities were starting to catch on to him. They were starting to figure it out because the chat rooms and all of that stuff. In June of 2000, he was arrested after 2 women filed sexual assault complaints against him. And police went to his house and his land and such to ask questions and kind of look around. They found 2 barrels with corpses in them. The corpses of 2 of them, the previous women that were missing. So across state lines in Missouri, they were searching other properties that he owned, and they found 3 more barrels with 3 more of the women in it. All 5 women were killed the same way, with a blow to the head. So he just basically hit him in the head and stuffed him in a barrel. In 2002, Robinson was sentenced to he was sentenced to death, and he's still on death row right now. Gross, right? Slavemaster? Who the fuck would talk to somebody named Slavemaster? I don't care, BDSM websites or not, like, be more creative. Right. I want to talk to Leather Dad,
Jimpy Gary, Ball Gag Barry. How naive and trusting were these women? Like, my bank accounts, do you want to just have control? Sure.
Neither you nor I have a submissive personality. We would be the ones who would be like, send me this piece of paper.
I'm going to need your bank account info.
Number 14 allows me access to your testicles whenever I want it. I never understand why, if you're going to kill somebody, you're just going to like put them in a barrel and just leave it on your land.
No, what I don't understand is where do you get the barrel? Is there a barrel store I don't know about?
Bodybarrels.com. Barrels for bodies. Are you a murderer? Are you looking for a place to break down your body? Come to bodybarrels.com. Yeah, barrels for all bodies. Well, that's the crappy story of the guy that I can't remember his name because I f***ed up so many times telling the story. I drank myself into an oblivion. If you like what you saw, feel free to take your submissive little fingers and subscribe, like, and ring the bell because I told you to. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for more drunken adventures with two non-submissive old whores. Get out. Goodbye.